Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to episode 15 of Koenigsegg'S Dagbok, where we previously discussed the jesko attack, and of course today we'll be talking about the proper top speed variant of the jesko, i.e. the jesko absolut, of course named the absolut, being the absolute fastest Koenigsegg to be made, given the fact that this has a theoretical top speed on the scary side of 310 miles an hour or 499 kilometers an hour, just shy of 500 kmph, but nevertheless a proper beast. And of course this has been completely stripped of the massive boomerang, because of course this is not completely dependent and doesn't even play a role in terms of downforce towards the car, because of course this is completely streamlined to be as quick as possible, low drag, and of course in terms of drag coefficient, this thing is quite up there. And of course in terms of the way of the drag coefficient on its own, the proper target that was supposed to be achieved was 0.28, and well, Koenigsegg in their own typical fashion, the complete CFD team overachieved with a proper CD of 0.278. I mean, this is literally just Koenigsegg just doing it in their own typical style. I mean, them overachieving is literally just the basic norm for them, and this literally just shows the level that Koenigsegg operates at. And of course, this being the same, jesko, I mean, fundamentally inside in mechanics, it's literally the same thing, other than the fact that of course the jesko attack had the triplex damper in the front and the back to of course keep it completely stable, and of course this has been completely tuned in a whole other realm. Hence the triplex damper is only been restricted to the back, so you can in fact take the hard top off and store it in the front with this, so there is something of a different feature compared to the attack. And of course the proper boomerang wing has been stripped off, where of course by removing that on its own, the downforce has been toned down from 1400 kilograms to 150 kilograms, but nevertheless it's not at all relevant. And of course in proper replacement for the proper boomerang wing, you've got the bat fins to keep it stable as much as possible at high speeds, and of course given the fact that it literally can go as high as 310 miles an hour, and of course that is exactly why Bugatti have been called out by Koenigsegg, given the fact that the 304.8 top speed record, which is held by the Bugatti Chiron Supersport, which is a completely different car than as to what is being made in the production line. Hence Koenigsegg actually calling them out and saying it's bullshit. And well, this being a proper absolute, and given the fact that it's got this much drag coefficient and the way they properly tune the car, and this is a proper land-based fighter jet, given the fact of the proper mechanical marvel of the 9-speed 8-speed, the 5-liter twin turbo V8, which of course casually makes 1600 horsepower on E85 biofuel, of course 1280 horsepower on normal pump fuel, 1500 Newton meters going right to the rear wheels. I mean, what else could you ask for? Hence, if you ask me, the absolute is not far away from claiming that top speed record and taking the crown, but nevertheless only time will tell. And of course a 5-liter twin turbo V8, as I said, a proper exact same engine as it is, but nevertheless the 9-speed light speed really enhances the complete overall visceral experience of this, given the fact that you get a flappy paddle gearbox as well as a sequential transmission. And of course you've got the mad major U-pod feature, ultimate power on demand, where of course, as I explained in the previous video, it's basically where you can use either the paddles or the sequential transmission, and you obviously push past and beyond the first click, which of course the first click is the upshift or downshift for both the paddles as well as the sequential transmission. You push past that, and when you hit the second notch, you engage U-pod or ultimate power on demand, which basically drops the car from whatever gear you are in into the most optimal gear, matches the revs, and you can disappear in the blink of an eye. That is literally just Koenigsegg magic on its own. And of course, given the fact that you've got 3 sets of 3 gears equaling 9 gears, a proper different ratio on its own, 7 different clutches, this thing has got every single forward gear ready at the helm of the driver. And of course this thing can be the proper monster that it wants to be, or it can be as comfortable as you want, and you could literally daily drive it. That is literally just the basic convenience that Koenigsegg delivers on. And I mean, what else could you ask for a basic 1600 horsepower car that you can daily drive and just take it out for a cruise? And of course you get 2 cup holders. I mean, that is literally something in a car of this brutal nature, that is not something that you'd expect. But nevertheless, Christian Koenigsegg himself said that practicality had to play a small role. Well, it does play a role. I don't care if it's small or big, it definitely has a role, hence it being a proper practical car. And of course this is the roomiest Koenigsegg ever made, given the fact that it has a proper monocoque stretched out by about 50 millimeters, properly completely tuned up, and of course made to fit some significantly tall people as well. And of course, given the fact that you've got a 5-liter twin turbocharged rocket engine strapped behind your head, well, it can only be better. And the fact that it literally took over 3000 hours for the CFD team, i.e. the computational fluid dynamics team, to get the proper drag coefficient, of which the target was 0.28 CD, and Koenigsegg in their own typical style and fashion overachieved with a complete final proper drag coefficient of 0.278. And now it is, that thing on its own is completely properly menacing. Given the fact that this has been streamlined to be as slippery through the air as possible, and of course every single body panel is as sleek, as slim, and is completely designed to be as smooth through the air as possible. And of course, literally the fact that there is hardly any drag to this, the proper bat fins to obviously hold it up and keep it stable at high speeds, a complete long tail on its own, the sharp finish looks extremely menacing, and of course it also took an additional 5,000 plus hours for the design and engineering of the Absolute, thereby showcasing that of course all the mechanically it's literally the same, other than the fact that there is no triplex damper in the front. Other than that, it is literally the same underneath, but exterior wise it has been completely revamped and completely put into the other realm. Of course the attack has been prepped for track use, this has been completely prepped for straight line speed, hence the proper theoretical top speed of 310 miles an hour, which is scary AF. And of course, given the fact that you've got a lot of differences, first off a long tail, the bat fins, the aero discs are first to keep the vibrations to a minimum, and of course help in aero to a certain extent, the revised minimized front splitter, the completely redesigned front wheel louvers, and of course given the fact that you can in fact stow the hardtop in the front, which is not doable on the attack, thereby showcasing the fact that of course mechanically they are the same, exterior and design wise they are completely two different monsters, but still monsters of all. And of course guys, given the fact that of course in terms of handling you get your basic Koenigsegg electronic stability control system with three settings, wet, normal and track, and of course you get a proper double wishbone suspension with the triplex damper only in the back, as I said, not in the front, with of course electronically adjustable gas hydraulic shock absorbers, your basic stuff. And of course, I mean, what else could you ask for? And of course, the front and rear hydraulic lift system, your basic shit, hollow air core carbon fiber wheels, carbon ceramics, a complete carbon fiber body, a curve weight of 1390 kilograms, a proper lightweight beast. And although it's lighter than the attack, it has been prepped for a completely different purpose, hence weight could not be playing much of a part, but nevertheless it helps in what all this can do. And of course, a proper elongated rear end on its own, it actually is very much noticeable. I'll put up a side to side profile of the attack and the Absolute, and as you guys can see, it is quite long on its own, and the massive sharp finish where of course the attack just properly curves off to the rear end, whereas this has a complete just cut off on its own, which gives it a very menacing rear end look, a massive diffuser on its own. And the bat fins, I don't know how, but they actually make it look really good. If it didn't have the bat fins, it could actually look really incomplete, but nevertheless the bat fins do it all and give it a very menacing look. And of course you've got all your options in terms of speccing. You can go for the KNC or the Koenigsegg naked carbon, which is an option which costs $443,000, and of course one person has already gone for it, and it actually looks completely menacing. It literally, if you think black is stealthy and menacing, you haven't seen KNC, and on its own guys, it is a complete menace to look at. And of course jesko, in terms of the attack and the proper Absolute, they are totally different realms. They can't compete against each other. Of course in their own turf they can completely take it to the competitors, but nevertheless they are proper monsters in their own eras. And of course, in terms of redline, this thing redlines at 8,500 RPMs, 7,800 while stationary. And of course, guys, the 9-speed light-speed gearbox, a proper engineering marvel, just adding to the list of proper innovations that Koenigsegg is doing. And of course, I mean, this thing literally puts DCTs to sleep. I mean, if you think the PDK transmission by Porsche is the best, well, or any DCT at that, I present to you the 9-speed light-speed by Koenigsegg. And of course, you've got 3 sets of 3 gears. 3 gears in each, equaling 9 gears, 7 different multi-disc wet clutches as small as this is literally Christian on Koenigsegg himself holding over them. This is literally the average size of a human being's hand on its own. And of course, not just that, it's literally got no external flywheel connecting it to the engine, thereby giving it zero loss of inertia or power being put down. And given the fact that the U-pod feature, where of course you have to breach and go beyond the first notch on both the paddles as well as the sequential transmission to engage U-pod or ultimate power on demand, where it drops it from whatever gear you are in into the most optimal gear, matches the revs, zero loss of power, and you can disappear in the blink of an eye. Basic Koenigsegg magic on its own. And I mean, they will continue to defy the proper impossibilities as what the community calls, but then they are the ones who properly turn the impossible into possible. And then this very 9-speed light speed, given the fact that you've got every single forward gear at the helm of the driver, it is a complete menace of an innovation. And not only that, you also obviously get your smart wheel and smart cluster, where of course the smart cluster is the screen that is connected directly to the steering wheel and rotates along with the steering wheel, and the gauge on its own levels every single time you turn it. Even if it's upside down, as you guys can see, it levels every single time, thereby just showcasing the level of engineering that Koenigsegg operates at. And of course, in terms of the smart wheel, you get your miniature haptic touch screens on the sides with of course which control, phone control, audio control, cruise control, ride height control, and you also get some small bits of aluminum above and underneath the haptic screens, which utilize the features of indicators, wiper wash, the complete wipers on their own, and of course headlights, high beam and low beam. And of course these logos, when lit up, obviously when the car is on, literally look like they're hovering in thin air, and when off, it is literally like there's nothing over there, thereby literally showing how far they've come from the olden days, from the old gen CC8s to the CCXs to the CCXRs to the Ageras, obviously all the way to the 121s, and now we have gone on into the jesko, and of course further on into the Gemera, which is a 2300 horsepower 4-seater family hypercar, which we'll be talking about in about 2 episodes from now. But nevertheless guys, the bar keeps on being set every time, obviously at a higher level, every time a new car comes out, and Koenigsegg have literally devised the same car in terms of mechanics, but in terms of proper purposes, they are two different monsters on their own turfs. Of course, the attack bred for track use, the absolute bred for complete straight line speed, and it being a proper Bugatti killer. I mean, what else could you ask for, guys? And the fact that you actually can stow the proper hardtop in the front, which is not doable on the attack, it is a proper bonus. And to the fact that you get practicality to a certain extent in a car of this brutal nature, practicality literally doesn't even matter at all. I mean, you're getting a 1600 horsepower Swedish rocket ship. Practicality doesn't play a role. Whether if it's there, it's a complementary. Whether if it's there, it's not there. Regardless, you're getting a 1600 horsepower jesko absolute. You should be happy. But nevertheless, Christian von Koenigsegg has made sure that practicality does play a role, and it does. And I mean, literally, it just helps us and i.e. the customers on their own just pick the car and just love it even more. And of course, you get your proper carbon fiber bucket seats with memory foam and the roomiest Koenigsegg, as I said, and of course, a complete carbon fiber Kevlar pre-impregnated body, of course, to keep it as light as possible. Diagonal synchro-helix doors. The bat fins actually look really good and menacing, and the rear end, the elongated long tail rear end, you could even say that this is Koenigsegg's first ever long tail. And in terms of the fact that the long tail on its own and the rear end and the rear portrait is menacing AF. And well, I mean, what would you pick, guys, the attack or the absolute? The fact that now that I'm actually properly taking a close look at this, and the mechanics of everything, of course, is literally the same, but the fact that they have overachieved the proper complete CFD or computational fluid dynamics of the drag coefficiency, from where the proper target was 0.28 CD and they overachieved with 0.278. It's literally just redefining the proper standards and setting new ones with every car that they bring out. And the jesko absolute, guys, well, I for one can't wait to see this completely smoke the Chiron Supersport. And given the fact that this is an actual production car, the Chiron Supersport, it is a completely different car, is that it has a complete longer 7th gear, it has a completely different power upgrade, and it's also got a couple of different aero enhancements as well comparatively to the proper production Chiron Supersport, which doesn't have any of this. But nevertheless, this will become the proper world's first production car to also be the world's fastest car ever made. And of course, the world's fastest production car record is held by none other than the jesko's elder brother, i.e. the Agera RS, which sits atop the board at 277.9 miles an hour. And of course, this thing with a theoretical top speed of 310 miles an hour, that will be quite a barrier to break. And Koenigsegg, in their own typical style, I know they'll do it. And of course, given the fact that of course only 125 of these will be made, a proper beast. And of course, the jesko on its own was named after Mr. Christian von Koenigsegg's very unbeloved father, given the fact that he helped properly start the company in 1994. And here it is in all its glory, the Bugatti killer, i.e. the jesko absolute. And of course, who could forget the proper bliss of the 5-liter twin turbo V8, which sounds like an NA engine, but nevertheless is a twin turbocharged engine, which makes a casual 1600 horsepower with E85 biofuel in the tank, but nevertheless a monster at that, 1280 with normal pump fuel, which is still highly admirable. But nevertheless, guys, I mean, the engine on its own made it to the legendary innovation of a complete marvel, i.e. the 9-speed light-speed gearbox, which is a complete proper impossible thing that couldn't even be perceived or conceived in anyone's head, yet Koenigsegg in their own typical fashion bring it out and actually cook with it and actually make it their proper gearbox that they use. And of course, the jesko, the CC850, and they'll most likely use it in further cars as well. And I mean, this is a proper match made in heaven. And of course, this thing being the proper Bugatti killer, well, what else could you ask for? And let me know in the comments which one did you pick, the absolute or the attack. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Remember to hit that sub button and click the bell to ensure you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See ya.